Hey, yo, welcome to the Uncle Show, where today we got something a little bit bigger than what I usually cover, and a little bit more expensive. This is the Soul of Chogokin Gundam Tryon 3. So first up, this was a figure I got from TFCon LA. I bought it from JobbytheHong, as evidenced by this autograph on the front of the box, which I will be saving. He sold it to me for about $160, which I think is a hell of a deal. I've seen it go for way more. And it has some interesting quirks, but more on that later. So let's get some explanations out of the way. The Tryon 3 Gundam, from what I can tell, is the main bot from Gundam Build Fighters Try, which is the sequel to the very popular Gundam Build Fighter. And I haven't even started Gundam Build Fighter, so I can't even begin to give you my thoughts on Gundam Build Fighters Try. But I knew about this design beforehand, and I'm a huge fan of it. Not only is it a combiner made of 3 robots, very cleverly built from customized robots in universe, but this design is also by the legendary mech designer Masami Obari, who worked on a large number of iconic 90s super robot anime, and his design style is immediately recognizable. Just the idea of turning the utilitarian Gundam into an over-the-top super robot tickled my soul. He was a lot of the reason I wanted to get this figure. Fun fact, I actually used the Obari pose as a way of teaching kids how to draw more dynamic posing as well as perspective. Now then, as for Soul of Chogokin, think of it as Bandai's line of modern-day, heavily collectors-oriented updates of those old die-cast metal robot toys from the 70s and 80s, like the ones from Popey. And they've covered a wide range of franchises, and it's a bit hard to find a complete list, but they've covered a lot, from Gundam to Brave, Mazinger, Voltron, Gurren Lagann, and even beyond anime, they've done some figures for some live-action properties like the Mighty Morphin Megazord, and even venturing into the Godzilla films and Pacific Rim. And as I mentioned, they're very big figures with lots of die-cast metal and a ton of accessories. I would love to collect them, but they're just way too brutal of a price for me. But this one was on sale, so I opted to take a chance. Before you ask, yes, this is the same one that Jobby reviewed in his own video. One of my personal favorites, which is another reason I wanted to get this figure. But I'm not going to let that taint my judgment of the figure. But you know what will taint my judgment of you? If you don't get subscribed and get notified. If you get subscribed and get notified, you'll not only see new reviews, but you can also tune into live streams where I film footage for future videos. Any super chats will also be featured in the video as well. Also, if you like the video, please give a like and comment. Your engagement helps support this channel. Now, back to the video. But before we get to today's subject, I just want to tell you that this video is sponsored by JP Fans. Yes, the people at JP Fans have kindly reached out for a collaboration and promotion, and it couldn't be more perfect. Have you ever tried to shop online for something that's only available in Japan, only to find out that your options are some goblin overcharging it on an auction site, or it's only available overseas with absurd shipping costs? JP Fans is an online proxy shipping service that not only charges a smaller service fee per order compared to other proxy services, but it also has a much nicer user interface than a lot of other sites, plenty of alternate language options, worldwide shipping, 60 days of item storage before shipping, and additional Mercari discount coupons up to 50% off. This is especially great for me because I particularly love the Bandai SMP model kits, but those haven't had a proper US release and as a result get massively upcharged. So a service like this is a great way for me to pick up other model kits, Blu-rays, makeup, clothing, 1970s jazz CDs, and more. And by clicking the affiliate link in the description or the pinned comment, you'll get 8 coupons worth up to $86 if you register an account. And you clicking that link also helps my channel out financially so I can keep making videos. There's something for everyone on JP Fans, so register today. Thank you so much. Straight out of the box, you get a ton of accessories that we'll go through later. The base and the 3 robots, we'll go through them one by one.
Ooh, sudden shift to a white sheet because my wife made a very good point that this kind of sheet might be better for building model kits on just because it'll be easier to see things. Anyhow, so I'm not gonna go too much in depth on the articulation as much for these guys just because a lot of this stuff is already used for the final robot, but I'll stay well. So you kind of got like a little pincer mouth for Umi Tryon here. You got little flaps at the back, and those can rotate a little bit. And of course, because these are the arms, you know, you can go a lot more flap it. It's fine. It gets the job done for a. It's an interesting idea for a robot, but I don't know if it's the best executed. Now then. Sora Tryon, which I need to adjust my camera for because it is a lot bigger. I mean, obviously they're forming the legs, so you can work with that, but the claws, you know, you can adjust. A lot of the parts are unhinged. On a head, can rotate but can't move up or down. Mouth opens remarkably wide though, so that's good. And these wings can go back a little bit if you wanted to, so, you know, and there's some movement at these fins. So obviously it's very clearly the robot mode's legs, but again, there's charm to it. Because in the universe they're meant to be a kit bashing, and I think they actually do kind of work in that regard. The Riku Tryon is definitely the best one. So we got some ball joints here, movement at the paws, no kind of pivots unfortunately. You can adjust the cannon so they're a lot more out of the way. Tail does not move at all. These little shoulder armor bits move about. No articulation at the head except for looking up really, and of course mouth opens. Cannons, you know, you can adjust the angle but not individually.
So the robots have their faults, but I do think they're still charming in a way. At least they vaguely look like what they're supposed to. Can't say that for some combining robots. Even though all the robots have their flaws, I do think they all make for a nice standalone display. But of course, these things combined. Let's pull out this wonderful instruction book with details on all the behind the scenes, all the accessories that I can't read.
You take off the head. That's gonna go somewhere else later, so not to worry there. And then if I remember correct, we gotta put all this stuff in here and rotate these legs down all the way. Oh, God, it's so tight in here. The leg is up. Rotate the legs around. Easier said than done. Very stiff. We're gonna take these down for now. Actually, I disconnected. Yes, there it is. So actually, I think we're gonna put those back. We rotate it and slide up. Pull the foot out. And I think there's a way we can. There you go. You gotta really want to get that foot out, and then you can just rotate that up. There we go. Although I think the foot's on the wrong way. Luckily, you can take these up and move that around again some. And if I remember, there is. The way it connects is so weird. It actually confused me the first time I saw it. You just connect it onto there like that, and that holds it in place somehow. I don't get it. Pull this up. Click, click. Up we go. And there we go. The legs. Surprised I didn't need to bring out the manual for that at all, actually, which in a way is good. All right, so next we take out the tail, because that's going to become a sword hilt later. Pull this out. Okay. Because these are going to form the hand and later. Could you tell? Okay, there we go. You just pull this out. And then you rotate this in, and there's the hand. You just click it in and kind of seesaw this up a little bit, and that's the first one done. So just be warned, you are going to get a workout from this. Then we take this bit, bring this around, rotate this downward, and that is going to be attach that in like so. I will say I haven't needed to look too much at the instructions, well, other than for a reference photo, which I think is actually a good sign. Like, it is a memorable combination sequence. First, the tail away. I forgot there's no articulation, just shove it in like that. And then if you've ever messed with any kind of like lion-based kind of combiner transformer over the years, you know how this works. You just rotate around like so, press them in. For this bit, you pull this out, seesaw out the head. There, like like so. Oh, and try your best to get this out as far as possible. And rotate all these bits down like so. I think it's like this. Now we click that in, and we very carefully put this part in. Okay, is that in? I hope so. Put it in there. I got the right to one Jobby joke. You sold this to me. I'm allowed one. Okay.
The transformation is actually pretty simple for such an expensive set, and a bit bizarre in parts. Like, there are some connection points that don't feel like they should work, but somehow do, and others, we'll come back to them. But the final design, wow, this thing looks gorgeous. I think this is the best twist on the Gundam's design that goes for a very drastic redesign, and yet I can still kind of recognize it as a Gundam somehow. There have been plenty of redesigns of the Gundam, and a lot of them are either very samey to me or are so different they barely look like a Gundam. And this is probably one of the most drastic but still familiar. That iconic samurai aesthetic that permeates Gundams is on full display, even with all the extra bits from the 3 robots. And being an Obari design, it's very over the top, with the wings all around, the claws protruding from the legs, and the giant cannon backpack. The chromed out lion chest just adds to that all-in, no-holds-barred design.
Sorry if you can hear my fan, but camera was overheating a bit and I wanted to show accessories. So, you get these style of hands, and these are the perfect transformation hands, which are very so much bigger fists, you know, for the punchings. In fact, real quick, you can actually disconnect the fist for like a flying fist attack, you know, common in Gundam, but you gotta disconnect the fist somehow, but I'm a little bit nervous about doing that, so we're just gonna move on. You also get little grabby hands for grabbing stuff, and you also get like this open hand for, I guess, for like, give me $5, I don't know. Most importantly are these open hands, which I'm gonna be using so that we can show off more of the accessory. A lot of people recommend you heat these up. These are made of like a softer kind of plastic, so just be careful. But they do allow for a little bit more motion than they look. So one cool accessory you can use is, what you can do is open this up, and you get these two bits here. These were at first separated, but what you can do like that, there's a little hole at the top, and you can stick that in, and you should be able to kind of connect the sword to it and do a nice little like pulling out the sword for a cool energy beam attack. You also get two of these blast effects parts, but brilliantly somehow I lost one. These, you can connect these to the fists to kind of give like, you know, that rocket punch effect. But for me, I wish they had some way of like connecting into like the blasters for a little bit of blast effect action, but no. For these can actually connect into these and form like little beam, not beam, you fool. Yeah, there we go. Ooh, yeah. Okay, that does, oh. Unfortunately, they are very, very heavy. But, you know, just saying, that does look really, really cool. It does look awesome. It's just like, I want to love this thing a lot more, but I do like this thing, but at the same time, there is a lot holding me back from truly loving it. It will put up a fight whenever you try to do almost anything with it. A sword should not be, oh. I'm just gonna, almost forgot, you also get this little head crest that you can attach into the hands and do like a throwing motion. Pretty cool, but I personally prefer the sword.
So all the accessories do look pretty neat, but honestly, the best accessory is the base. Using these stand and stand arms, you can get some great displays for different attacks and provide some support for the more heavy weapons. Rather spiffy, but unfortunately the base doesn't act as storage for the alternate hands, other weapons, and such. Lost opportunity there, especially compared to something like the Soul Jigoken Voltron, which stored all the weapons in alternate hands in this nice little display.
You got a ball jointed head, which can rotate around and look down really far, look up, not that far. You get a little bit of that giggity action. The shoulder pads are articulated, which is very helpful actually. And you also get a little rotation at the shoulder armor itself. So we can rotate all the way around, just be careful not to clash around. There's a little bit of butterfly, not a crazy amount though. T-posing at the arms. And there is a rotation at the shoulder, which is quite nice. Elbows do not go 90. Although, maybe they can, hold on. There we go, actually, yeah. It just requires a little bit of maneuverability, but you can do some rotation. There is bicep rotation too, right there. A little bit. These panels can also spin around. This can extend too. Don't know if you'll need that necessarily, but it's there. There is a sword wielding wrist and a rotation at the arm. Gotta say, it is a little weird not to have Gundam's usual ball joints, but whatever, it's fine. Is there a chest crunch? Yes, there, kind of, but detach very easily. And there is waist rotation, but again, you gotta kind of be very careful. In fact, going to the backpack real quick, there is a little bit of a butterflying for the cannons, and you can maneuver the backpack around. Skirts go up, so we'll get those up for some leg movement. And this is where we kind of encounter some of the biggest problems. These legs are heavy. So legs go out that far, and just due to the backpack, and they can't go back far at all. That's about as far as they'll go. Then there is thigh rotation, but have a look at this. Oh! It does not feel like it wants to. It's so stiff. That requires a workout. You can get a workout doing this, honestly. Knees go 90. And of course, you know, these claws can extend if you so desire. So for the foot, there is rotation at the foot, some pivoting, and a toe bend. Really good toe bend, actually. So that is kind of nice. Yeah, this thing, it is. It's super well articulated, but also kind of doesn't feel like it wants to be.
Articulation is technically diverse in motion, but also rather limited. There are just some very questionable limitations and choices that make it feel like it can't quite pose as much as it could. But there is another big problem with this figure, and you probably know it if you watch Jobby's video. The Riku assembly at the top here doesn't connect very well. There are connections, but not exactly the tightest, so as a result, a little bit of movement will loosen this. Jobby notably wasn't happy about this. Kill yourself! But does it ruin the figure for me? Weirdly, no. It's a big problem, but somehow for me, it felt a lot tighter than I expected. What's a lot more unforgivable for me is the articulation feels like it's fighting me. It's a lot more friction joints, which you think will allow for a lot more movement, but not in this case. It just feels so stiff. I have plenty of large figures, some of which combine and some of them transform, and none of them feel as limited as this guy's joints, including ones with ratchet joints, where you'd think they'd be a lot more limited. Due to all the bits of armor, the odd connection, and those limitations, posing this guy feels a lot harder than it should be, but not impossible. What's also a bit frustrating is the size. This is not the biggest robot in town.
So, some size comparisons real quick. Here he is next to the entry grade Gundam RX 78. Here he is next to this Duke Nukem Forever bust. Here he is next to the Soul Jigoken Lion Voltron. And yeah, size-wise, that is a bit of a difference. Almost forgot. One more. And just given the size, here he is next to me.
I don't know if Soul Jigoken follows some kind of scale that's shared across all their figures, but it does still feel weird that he's this small and this expensive. So do I recommend him even with all his flaws? You know what? Yes, but at the same time,
Who the fuck are you?
Oh, Jobby warned me you might be here. He gave me a note when he sold me this.
Hey, just a heads up, I didn't have time to clean the figure of all the grease from my fingers, so a little gremlin might pick up my scent and appear when you make some kind of critique. Just thought I'd let you know. Whatever gets him off my ass.
So back to what I was saying.
Probably just to recommend this after pointing out the exact same premise Jobby did in his review.
Well, like any great political YouTuber, after saying something disgusting, I just remember context. I bought this guy for a massively discounted price from one of my favorite YouTubers. I paid half of what this guy would normally cost, and in that price, it's a pretty good deal. Even at the $200, $250 mark, that's still on par with something like a Fans Toys figure or some of the higher-end third-party Transformers. And in that playground, he becomes a bit more advantageous. I wouldn't normally buy these Soul of Chogokin figures. They're too expensive and take up way too much space. But it was the right figure for the right price, sold by the right guy at the right convention. Alright? I had a lot of fun with him. So yeah, I'm admitting I'm totally biased. Screw it.
So when are you gonna finish Tomo and Neo?
But what about you? How do you feel about this figure? Do you think my justification is sound, or is it coke? Let me know in the comments, and please subscribe.